Greetings and salutations everybody, welcome back to my latest video. For those who are new, I like to make these little videos about films I enjoy and want to share, and usually it's something along the lines of horror, but I do work in some other titles, especially some stuff from the 80s, or sometimes checking out franchises that I've either never seen or haven't seen in a very long time. If you enjoy what you see here, please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing and hitting that little bell icon to get notifications for when I put up new content, which is usually once or twice a week. Okay, now that all that's out of the way, I've been kind of working in more Hammer films. As usual, I try to do one every week or two. And so this time, I'd like to cover the 1971 film Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde, the synopsis for which is as follows. A Victorian scientist tests a serum that transforms him into a sensuous murderess. Yes, he was trying to find a way to extend life, and he's messing with all these different genetic things and turns himself into a woman. So this one was very difficult to track down, actually, because when I first came across it in an article about other Hammer, film suggestions, ones that were really well received, this one was in there, along with Vampire Circus, which I did previously, and The Devil Rides Out, which I think was the one right before that. This one was listed as Dr. Jekyll and Miss Hyde, and I started looking around for it, couldn't find it anywhere. I did find a title with that name, but I think it was from the 1990s maybe. It was definitely not the Hammer film. In a lot of cases, Hammer will, they would have released something in the UK under one name, and then in the US for some reason they'll change it because maybe they figure they can market it differently. That's also why sometimes I state that the movie came out in one year, but if you look on IMDb, maybe it technically came out a year earlier in the UK. But anyways, so I was on Peacock looking for something to watch. I just watched They Them, which I actually really enjoyed, although some stuff about the ending was kind of so-so. But so I was just kind of scrolling through what they had to offer, and then I see this title, Dr. Jekyll and Sister Hyde. And it was the exact film that I'd been looking for this whole time. It's very surprising to find a Hammer film on there, much less the one that I was specifically looking for. So this one stars Ralph Bates, who I'd seen in Taste the Blood of Dracula, and The Horror of Frankenstein as well. So he plays Dr. Jekyll, and Martine Beswick, who some may know from Russia with Love and Thunderball, so she's in 2 Bond movies. She plays like this female alternate personality who's kind of being explained away as just being Jekyll's sister when people come across her. Of course, they still stick to the idea that this Sister Hyde is basically the id of Jekyll, this dangerous, almost primal side of himself with murderous intent that's kind of coming to life. So we still get that aspect of the Jekyll and Hyde story. But with that being said, while this one does follow that similar formula that we've seen with Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, they did kind of mix things up a little bit more than just throwing a female aspect into it, to mix it up. Because she comes across as very independent, strong, but also violent of a woman in a role which may have not been very common for the time, and probably it'd be interesting to see kind of how it was received back then. But along with that, we get this bit of Jack the Ripper on top of it. So they take a lot of the stories about Jack the Ripper and kind of tie that to her character. So this murderous side of her coming out, she's basically the Ripper of London. And yeah, it's really interesting the way they kind of work that into it. So though we know some of where the Jekyll and Hyde story ultimately does end up going, having these new aspects really did make it quite interesting. It's definitely a nice twist on things. Rather than just swapping this gender identity, they actually lean into that swap very differently. And in a very, original way that really had me on board the entire time. Again, this one was relatively short, about 97 minutes. But so when you go into it thinking, okay, this is just a Jekyll and Hyde story, that's true, but the way that they swap the gender and the way that they turn her into this very empowered and dangerous woman who is also the Ripper of London was a really interesting direction to take it that just had me on board the entire time, and was definitely worth checking out. And at the time of this video, it is on Peacock right now. But speaking of checking out, thanks for checking out what is, a very quick entry here for, Hammer film. I believe this makes film number 40 that I've seen now in just over a year, which is crazy. That's a lot of Hammer, and this entire time I have not yet brought up a Hammer time kind of joke, but there is time. Anyways, thanks for stopping by for this quick video. I have some other ones planned as well. Be sure to check out that back catalog because I have a lot of other Hammer films that I covered, even some that I didn't really care for that much. So anyways, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon, and I'll see you in the next one.